Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Town of Dewey Beach Town Council meeting, special meeting. It's being held at the Dewey Beach Life Saving Station, as well as via Zoom, and it's Friday, February 14th, 2025, Valentine's Day, and it's 5 p.m. With that, I'd like to convene this special Town Commissioner meeting and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Next item is roll call. Commissioner Persinger.
Here.
Commissioner Gibbings.
Here.
Commissioner Bauer. Present. Commissioner Jasinski.
I'm here.
And Bill Stevens is here, so we have a quorum, all five present. First thing is, may I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Before we open up the agenda items, I'll open up for public comment. Is there any member of the community here or online that would like to speak for a non-agenda item? All right, not seeing any, we will move on. Agenda items, we'll take public comment after a brief discussion. A, discuss the draft fiscal year 2026 budget. For those in attendance, if you went online to the documents, you'd see that the budget was prepared by the town. There were two changes, I believe, from the first draft, which included an increase to the fines as well as increased parking. Those two things have resulted in a balanced budget from the standpoint that there's $600 in balance. This was part of this discussion is to ensure, as we talk really about, and this is not a vote, but to discuss this budget as it relates to funding that may be required with our new town hall, which is the next agenda item. So I'll open up for council if they have any questions concerning the budget that was posted for Ms. Hall, who's here.
No, I don't have any questions. I was here for the Finance Committee meeting, so I got the overview there.
Okay?
Same.
Same? And same. Same. Okay.
Could I ask a different question?
Of course.
And this is kind of directed at Fred, I believe. The Finance Committee meeting had to adjourn because they lost their quorum, so they were not able to vote to give us a recommendation. Would it be appropriate for us, since we would like to vote on this at the next meeting, would it be appropriate for us to ask each of the Finance Committee members individually for their thoughts about the budget that could be provided to the town hall, so we would have the benefit of their comments, even absent a vote next week, absent a vote from the Finance Committee?
Right. I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. You have an obligation to act on the budget in accordance with your schedule, and the Finance Committee, you can't control the Finance Committee's recommendation when it comes in or what it says. So I don't have a problem for you just simply soliciting the members to send in their comments individually. They can't meet to assemble their comments. They can't collectively submit comments as a Finance Committee, but they individually can say, we got to the 10th yard line and these are the benefit of that process. And you can consider them as you can in any case when you get written comments prior to acting on something on an agenda.
So can we ask for that without some sort of formal action here?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Does anyone have objection to that?
No, not at all.
The chair is present in the room. Mayor, if you'd like to ask the chair to solicit that information.
Chair?
Yes.
Please repeat your question.
Chair, would you please reach out to the respective committee members and solicit their input regarding the budget as proposed, not the budget as they were discussing for the future?
Yep, I will do that.
Thank you.
And then if they're communicating electronically, they should not be communicating together.
No reply alls.
Okay.
Send that out individually.
I'll just send an individual email to
And
everybody.
then bring it
You
together
can
in one
collect them
document and then,
Okay, I'll do that. Okay,
Okay.
great, we'll do.
Thank you.
all right. Item B, discuss and possibly vote on optional features in the construction plan and the funding plan of the new town hall and police station. Again, there was a document put online for your review. I'll turn it over to the town manager to discuss in detail, but I think there's a few different things to acknowledge as we go through this. One is that we did end up, I just want to make sure which version do you have for the 400 version? Okay. The town manager was able to get a initial quote for the furniture requirements. We had originally put in what's online for $400,000. This quote came back at 220. So it's a significantly less quote. So that's the first thing when you see what's on the right-hand side under uses. The second thing is that the IT camera and computers, the 470,000, while has not been signed off on, there's a 470,000 federal grant.
462,000.
462,000 federal grant for that equipment, that there's a high degree of confidence that that's going to happen. But again, with the current state of the budget process at the federal government, you never know what's going to happen. So that's just so you can tie those two things from a 470, 470. When you look at the modifications on the right, they came to us through conversations with Costello as well as what was in the initial bid process. They went through these elements in detail. The concrete drilled pilings would save $97,000 versus the pounded pilings that go in. We talked about the flooring, the roofing substitute. The ballistic modification was that they had ballistic for all walls interior to the police department. It was determined that you didn't need to do all the walls interior to the police department. And so I believe they worked with the town and the chief to make sure that there wasn't anything overlooked. We talked about the prevailing wage elimination. The Sallyport garage doors was a savings because they were bifold doors.
Bifold, yep.
Initial doors, but they actually can be overhead doors, and the fiberglass and the steel doors in the tile and shower. The only item that, from a modification standpoint, that came up is the secondary elevator. There's concern about removing the secondary elevator. There's a misstatement possibly that I just want to make sure is clear. This is not a 5-step elevator to go from Sallyport to the first floor. This goes all 3 floors. It is the equivalent of a freight elevator. So the 3rd floor, which it could be storage, you could access that. While we don't have a use for the 3rd floor, of course, one of the things that came to mind personally was if we ever did have a Superstorm Sandy and the Red Cross needed to come in and bring in equipment, there's a different facility that could be used as part of another element of protecting the town and town residents. The elevator also provides us redundancy for any ADA requirements or ADA issues that we may have if the other elevator goes down. Lastly, it was at the suggestion of the contractor, and it's something for council to consider as we talk through this vote. If we do modify this with taking out the elevator, this has to go back to the fire marshal. So all the other changes that we have here don't require us to resubmit to the fire marshal and to go back through the process. The contractor was so convinced that we should keep it in, he's offered to do it without, I almost said free, not free, but delay payment for 2 years with no interest. So that $135,000, we pay it off in a 2-year, assuming that we can get additional grants out there. Again,
Can I ask, why are they set on us needing it?
The redundancy, the safety issue, the ability to have a freight elevator in the back. It's an additional egress, additional way to get in and out of the facility. And to take it away, you're just going to be relying upon the stairs again, especially with, potentially going up the back from the stage.
Just a question, wasn't the difference in the furniture cost, wasn't that somewhere in the $120,000 or $30,000 range?
It's actually 220 was on the quote versus 400.
So it's 180 then?
Yeah,
So that would more than pay for an elevator?
right.
Okay.
Question or two on that. The elevator in the front, is it the same size as the elevator in the back? And does the one in the front also go to the 3rd floor?
Both of them do go to the third floor. The one in the back is larger than one in front. And Dean's online, Dean Townsend, he could actually tell you the dimensions if they're needed. But they are different sizes.
Yeah, they're pretty much the same size. The one in the back is just slightly larger, and that's because it has front back doors to it. Otherwise, they're pretty much the same size.
The cabin size is the same, basically,
Really?
in terms of like freight. It's not like one could put more freight in it than the other one.
No, they're
And
about the same size. That's all.
And I guess the other thing is, we had, some things that we had to get over with the fire marshal previously. Do we have any reason to think that they would not approve having only one elevator?
No,
Oh, go ahead, Dean. You're the expert.
yeah, usually in past circumstances like this, they really don't take in consideration how many elevators you have in it. Their concern is more or less, given that it is a shaft that is through the building, you had to put in place fire rating provisions that meet the similar fire rating of that elevator shaft. So removal of it means you essentially have a big gaping hole through all 3 floors, so you would have to seal it up with the appropriate floor and ceiling measures. At bid, we did provide a general basis for them, but it's more or less just a matter of a cursory review. That way the fire marshal is aware of it and they can see it. But otherwise, in past experience, when we've come across instances like this, and given how very minor and isolated it is, it's usually a very short turnaround process for them. So that's all.
All right.
Okay, the other things that are included on the sheet for the summary is looking at the loan analysis. I believe that the town manager received initial conversations, because we would have to put out for RFP, obviously, that if we did I put on mine a 2.6 because of the modifications to the furniture. The 2.6 over 20 years at 4.5% would generate a $16,500 a month on a loan payment. That would equate to about $197,000 a year, or require us to have $395,000 in hotel taxes. We've appropriated that. So the only reason why I bring that up is that their hotel tax is not going to go away. And it's provided that we continue, the hotels are able to support the same level they have in the past, that those fundings, 50% of the hotel tax would then also be able to cover the debt that we are allowed to by code up to the $3 million. The other things on the sheet, before we open up for conversation, is what the source is up top. The $3 million for the unearned revenue state grant from Representative Schwarzkopf, the $1 million in the bond bill, the $1 million from EMS, the 2.2 currently in the town hall, the 1.2 million that's been identified as unassigned and potentially available for use. 2.6 million is part of possibly loan proceeds, and $200,000 that have been already committed to the town as part of the town hall, without us actually going through and asking for additional donations. Potentially would provide us enough of the funds to cover town hall. Some of the other thought process, and I know that the town manager's done this, has reached out to Sussex County for additional potential funding and help from the EMS, for the EMS as well as just overall. There are other avenues for the federal grants. We already discussed the IT camera for 470, and again, asking for additional state bond bill for the 26th calendar year, as well as possible donations. It's a summary statement here that's put out there. So I would like to open it up first for public comment, and before we bring it for the town manager, or for the town council. So is there anyone here from public comment that would like to comment on the new town hall? Anyone in the room? All right, then I'll open up for council. If anyone, Kate, does come through, please just let us know, because it's important. So, Commissioner Bauer.
Yeah, so, when we break it down this way, one of the things that, going back in history, when we were originally going to do this town hall was going to be inside the Hyatt, and they pay us $50,000 a year, which I think is a legitimate use, because that was the intended, that's why they give us that money in lieu of giving us that space. So that $50,000 a year would take care of at least 3 of the months' payments, or somehow be able to buy that down a little bit to make it a more manageable number. But I think that needs to be included in the conversation of, it's money that we've been collecting for 14 years, 15 years. So we've collected a good sum of money on that over the years, and that was the intention of that money, and that goes back to the settlement that the town made with the Hyatt property, so.
Okay. Commissioner Jazinski.
A couple of things. First of all, Mr. Zolper, thanks for getting some numbers around the furniture and the IT equipment. And I know we're still early and it's like way ahead of time. So obviously we know that those are estimates, not firm bids. But I guess what I want is a sense from you of how close this is to the pin. Like how much variance do you think we might reasonably expect over and under these numbers that you have?
So as of right now, I think they're the best numbers we can get. This phase 1 and phase 2 is going to take some time. I mean, it's phase 1, I think, is 400 days. That's what the contractor estimates. It's clearly going to be over a year just to do phase 1. Given the current economic situation in the country, there could be a number of different factors. But given what we have right now, no, these are the best numbers I can come up with.
Okay.
I know in the furniture, there's a possibility with tariffs, talking to the one vendor, some of the furnishing comes in from Canada. So there could be that could go up a little bit. And then also I asked Commissioner Bauer to look at also some of this on the furniture, some of the prices from his previous experience in this field. But I'm also working on the community reinvestment grant right now with the state, which is the bond bill that the mayor referred to. That's not a guarantee, but the 2 times we've put in, we have gotten funds from that.
Okay. Is moving costs included in that number? Like the cost to have people come in, pack everything up, move it, cable, that type of thing, you know?
It is not. You mean move from the old building to the new building?
Well, you're obviously getting new furniture. That's why you have a large line item for furniture, but there's still going to be some type of moving costs, I would assume, you know, but maybe not. I don't know.
We didn't count on that, and we don't plan on taking much of any of the furniture. Of course, there will be computers from the police department and from the admin side. They're going to have to be moved.
Right.
We plan on moving those ourselves.
Okay. And then on the loan analysis, I don't know, I assume you did it, but the 4.5% 20-year amortization, did you actually get a term sheet from somebody, or where did that number come from for the rate?
That was a conversation that the town manager had with our existing banker, and he actually put it out there as 4%, I believe, over a 20-year period. And not speaking for you, Bill, but he had suggested that even though they're our existing bank, is to put this out as an RFP and to get other banks to compete for the business. But he felt that those numbers were very strong, given the fact that as a municipality, we have very low risk from a loan standpoint.
And we are working on a draft RFP that'll go out to the banks in the area, just like we did when we looked at going to our current bank. We found that saving $45,000 in fees, and then also getting a better interest rate return with our current bank than we were with previous banks.
So we should, is what I would assume. Is that a fair statement? I mean, I'm assuming they're doing it as some type of markup over a certain kind of T-bill is how they're probably pricing it.
I think that's a fair statement. It could be a little better than what we've projected.
Okay. All right. I guess my next question is the concrete drilled pilings. We didn't talk about that last time. Both visually and structurally, how does that change things?
I would ask Dean to comment on that.
It's not. It's really just a method of application of how they install it. Truthfully, for most of the experience and a lot of construction around here, it usually is cheaper to do a driven pile, but these guys come in and say they could do the auger cast one. Cheaper is better. But otherwise, performance, still the same.
Okay. I don't think I had anything else.
Commissioner Gibbings, saving the best for last.
So I just wanted to clarify the ballistic modification that it's walls and doors, correct?
So what I did was went through the doors on the first floor that were bid out as ballistic. So for example, the door going to storage had a ballistic door on it. There was no reason for it to be ballistic. The door going to the sprinkler room was ballistic. So we cut, I believe, 6 doors from the first floor that did not need to be ballistic. We did not remove any of the ballistic wall from the first floor. It's all there, it has remained the same. We did remove ballistic wall on the second floor from basically where you would go over towards my office, all the way across the commissioner's room. We kept the ballistic wall around the courtroom and around the clerk upstairs, the court clerk. That's where we removed the ballistic wall and some of the doors, and we have saved $70,000 by doing that.
Beautiful, thank you.
Anything else, Commissioner Gibbons?
No,
Commissioner Persiger?
Yeah, I would just like to thank the town for putting together this much more specific proposal. This certainly makes me feel a lot more comfortable with what we're proposing to do here. I think I commented several times at the last meeting that the numbers were quite fuzzy for me. This provides a lot more clarity. I want to thank Sheena also for taking the time to help me work through the identification and resolving this question of whether or not we actually have some additional unassigned funds. And I think the 1.2 million here is quite a reasonable number. I think it's really gratifying that we seem to almost have a grant, which seems to be is it 95% sure on the IT camera and computer equipment. That certainly reduces some of the fees here under what's called uses. The reduction in furniture cost is certainly a good move as well. And, if we collectively decide to put the secondary elevator back in there, I think that would probably be a reasonable addition. So again, I feel a lot better about this. And again, I want to thank the town for putting in the effort to put this together.
Gary, if I may, the fund it's called a CDF fund, Congressional Discretionary Fund, that Congress people have in DC, and it's been approved, but it's not released.
Okay.
So whenever funds can be released, that's when we get it. I mean, obviously, we don't need the money today. We'll
Right.
be released sometime in the next 12 months, we hope so. No guarantees. Right?
And if I can make a comment, the police department did a nice job on a write-up for some of that funding.
Yeah.
And then we also added in the cost possibly of a generator. But we're working on a grant right now with DEMA for the generator. It's going to take about 6 months for it to go through the process. But if we actually get approved for the generator before the generator's been ordered for this building, then we'll be able to use that money to pay for the generator.
And that's included in the 470, 460?
A new generator could be.
Okay.
Right, but I'm right now in the bid that we have in front of us from the contractor, the generator is included there.
Okay. All right.
We're putting in a grant right now with DEMA for the generator. If that gets approved in time, we'll be able to use that to pay for the generator that's in the bid.
I think, based upon a few of the comments, obviously, Commissioner Bauer and the 50,000 to Hyatt, we'll obviously know a little bit more from the loan analysis once the town puts that out to RFP, but I feel good about knowing that the hotel tax, at least half the hotel tax will cover that. We could modify this and publish this to include a nominal moving cost, as Commissioner Jasinski put in there.
That's fair.
$10,000, let's say, I don't know, 10 or 15, basically people walking across. So I don't know how much is going to be there, and I don't know if there's going to be, I can see files and stuff like that going over, but I don't see any furniture going over into the new town hall. I personally am in favor of the secondary elevator. One of the comments that came from the contractor is that to do it after the fact, it's going to cost 2 to 3 times more to have that elevator in there. And one of the things that I asked the town managers who went through this is, did he feel like we were giving up anything by making these modifications? And the answer is no, except for the elevator in terms of how that can handle. And so,
I was struck by the builders feeling that we so strongly we needed to have it, that they were willing to let us pay for it and then you pay us
Yeah.
back.
yeah,
That got my attention.
yeah, I was surprised too.
Would they consider lowering that price?
Well, Will can always ask them for a
It seems to be,
donation.
I mean, I've never bought an elevator before. It just seems to be a pretty high price for an elevator.
But I believe, Chief, it's one that has the dividing thing in it so you can transport folks upstairs safely and such.
That second elevator is going to be used for us to transport. If we have to put someone in the restraint chair or somebody's combative in that elevator to bring them up. And we were concerned about the lift side after we found out the size of our restraint chair and the dimensions on the lift, because normally if you have that situation, you're going to have 2 officers and then somebody, and we might not be able to fit all that in there. So that wouldn't work for us. So this elevator would really serve a good purpose for
Safety for our officers.
safety and for the purposes of transporting stuff up and supplies and freight if there's an
Ammo and
emergency and
everything else,
everything.
yeah.
If you don't have that, it's going to be kind of difficult.
Especially when we order furniture and we need to get it up to the floor.
Absolutely.
Would it be, what's the savings if we eliminated the smaller elevator?
That's in the front, that's public
front,
access.
Public access?
Yeah.
All right.
That's how they can come to our meetings.
Yeah, I am.
It'll be a lot more fit by going up and down the stairs.
Well,
We can make it a nice freight elevator, you know?
assuming that we can modify this for the moving costs and assuming that we can make a motion as such to keep the secondary elevator in there, that's how I feel. So if there's any agreement and people would like to make a motion, I'd appreciate it.
How many components can be in the motion? Like, do we need to make a motion about the $50,000 from the Hyatt being used to service the debt?
I don't,
Or is that just what we do?
I mean, it's funds that we have.
it's funds that we have that's
So you
being
don't-
used in
okay.
general operating right now, but we as council have put 50% of the hotel tax towards the town hall.
Okay.
And I don't expect the hotel rates to go down in the next 20 years. But if the mortgage, in today's, and I'm also, I am personally, we don't know, as Commissioner Bauer alluded to, with the tariffs that are including the uncertainty right now at the federal budget level, it's best to get this locked in while we can, because there's no escalations in the bid from Costello, correct? They don't have the ability to come back to us if the material cost changes based. I didn't see anything when I reviewed it, but I don't know if you had the chance.
I don't recall
Okay.
reviewing it with that in mind.
So then I would like to make a motion that we accept the funding plan that has been so wonderfully developed by our town staff for the new public safety building that will provide town hall, police station, emergency medical services, and court functions.
Do I have a second?
I would second, but I would like to include the modifications that we've talked
Please.
about.
I thought I said modifications for moving. Did I forget to say
Did
that?
she say that? I did not hear that. Was that part of your motion?
Modification, but you didn't say what the modifications were. So if you want to,
Modifications for moving.
for moving and
Moving
to
cost.
putting the
And
elevator
putting the
back.
second elevator, returning the
Right.
second elevator to the
Good.
proposal.
Yeah, I second that.
I forgot the elevator part.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. All right. Great job, guys. Town Hall, great job.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mayor.
Move on to the third, to closing the meeting. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Persinger.
No comments.
Commissioner Gibbings.
Happy Valentine's Day. I'm glad I get to spend it with all of you.
A lot of love in the room. Commissioner Jazinski.
No comment.
Commissioner Bauer.
No comment.
And Mayor Bill Stevens, no comment. With that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So
Motion.
moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
I told you. Just wanted to get the thing going. Bill did a good job on this document. Bill Zolber. He basically, I got to tell you though, one thing that's really